friends. Harvey Michaels here. Welcome back to our wild ride with Danshui President Plunge Spear Bloom, a story that had me on the edge of my seat while writing it. I'm excited to share a taste with you today. If you're new here, go ahead and tap that like button and subscribe. You won't want to miss what's coming next. All right, let's jump in.
Chapter 10, Part 2, Dawn for Willie. A tray of bandage materials leaves with the nurse, who passes Wang Sanbao outside the private room doorway. Willie waves to Sanbao but says nothing, just continues what he was doing, squirming carefully on the bed, trying in vain to find a comfortable position, very much aware in 10 minutes he can take his next pain pill. Sanbao pulls a chair over next to Willie's bed and leans over next to Willie's head, propped on a pillow. Dawn is at the door, Willie. He pauses and makes like he said nothing out of the ordinary, more than, "I see you shaved again. Before you meet too many ladies, I want you to meet this special friend of mine. Her husband died in a car crash 2 years ago, leaving her and her 2 children. Just meet them, okay?" Standing in the doorway, before he can say anything, Willie is surprised. The attractive face, framed with shoulder-length hair, is etched with concern and something more. What is that? Worry? Compassion? Or someone she never met before? "Willie, Willie, this is Hong Xinling." A combination of Wanda, Ibi, and Coco smiles at him, shocking Willie to recognize. 2 young boys in blue and white kindergarten uniforms tentatively follow her in, looking all around Willie's room. In English, she says, "Wang Bebe told me about you and your friends, Willie, Dee, Ibi, Pieface, and Wanda. My English name is Dawn. These are my boys, Dan and Ben. They are in an all-English preschool. We're used to speaking English." The boys smile as she points them out. Each one's smile curls up on one corner of his mouth, one right, one left. Nice smiles, Willie thinks, especially hers. Then 100 thoughts battle for Willie's attention. The one standing out most recalls the twin girls so important to Dee's recovery 8 years ago. "Hi!" Willie waves, grinning at Dawn and her uniformed sons. "What was fun to learn about at school today?" They don't answer, their eyes glued to the small table next to Willie. Just the day before, an interesting doctor named Peter introduced himself and presented Willie with a present. He'd mounted the thin, shiny, razor-tipped spear that pierced Willie's scalp on cardboard with non-sticky medical tape. Willie is very pleased with the gift. This spear is a survivor. The one that jammed into his ribs was cut, snipped off before taking Willie's x-ray, and flat pliers scratched up the one that came from his rear end. But this one was delicately removed and remains in perfect condition. Actually, it's the only remaining spear in mint condition after police finished in Kingfish's house, dusting for fingerprints and testing for traces of explosives. What spears lying about on the floor, not trounced on top of, had their delicate surfaces scratched when dutifully swept into a pile for disposal. "Is that a spear?" Ben starts. "That speared you?" Dan finishes. The boys look at each other wide-eyed. "Yes." Propping himself on his right elbow and turning away from them, Willie displays a large, shaved rectangle of skin. 2 small bandages, right and left, cover the still fresh wounds just above the top of his neck. Willie forgets his rump and rib pain for a few seconds to illustrate. He sits up and straight. You can see where it was. He holds his hands out on each side of his head and swivels at the waist and neck, miming pinching the ends of the spear still there. Gross, huh? He grunts a swallowed gasp of pain, reclining back to his pillow. No, but a little scary, Dan starts. Like an android, Ben finishes. Android Willie. His eyebrows leap up, looking at his brother. Uncle Willie, boys. Don smiles while chiding them for their manners. Please excuse them, Willie. I think everyone in Taiwan is talking about the weekend. The boys said it was all the teachers talked about at school. Yeah, but they telled it wrong. They said Officer Hu saved Wang Bebe. Dan again. But Wang Bebe told us it was Uncle Willie who saved him. Ben hops around and points at Willie. Listen, boys. Sanbao gets their attention. Did you know in this hospital there's a big room with babies just born? I want to take you for a walk over there and count them. How does that sound? Okay? Come on, let's go. Okay, baby, Ben says, and takes one of Sanbao's hands and starts leading the way. Dan grabs the other hand and they head out the open door without saying goodbye. Willie hears Dan asking, Is it near the ice cream? Mommy said we can have ice cream if we don't say the Pigu spear. Dawn and Willie both blush toward each other. To finish the spear topic, Willie says, I thought looking at that spear would be scary, like bring back trauma, but it isn't. It doesn't. It reminds me how great life is. Believe it or not, I was just watching a video of the spear Gatling gun attack. Tilting her head, Dawn slowly shakes it in disbelief. With a nod toward her, Willie gestures at the laptop on the table unopened. She picks up the laptop and holds it. How can you sleep afterward? Grateful for the miracle, Don. God saved us. He grins hugely at her, saying, Remind me to tell you about my spear dream. Then he reaches for the computer. She stops him when he twinges in pain from his rib wound. You should sit up, Willie. The button rests on the bed, and they spot it together. Smiling, he takes in the new angle of her face, closer, more elevated, and captivating in a quiet way. Her smile, warm and familiar, meets his in a lingering exchange. Maybe we shouldn't, Dawn. Willie, I want to. Everyone everywhere imagined what it was like. She holds back the words, how terrible, letting the silence speak instead. Willie thinks she looks vulnerable. With a nod, she leans in to help him open the laptop. As introduction, with his finger above the button to start, he says, It's an angle from above looking down. He doesn't add, as the angels saw it, but does add, I am glad there's no sound. Maybe that would be more disturbing. He means for her, since he has already seen another camera view with the sound. Then Willie plays it, the spy view fiber optic ceiling camera angle of the eye-defying spear assault. A bomb of bulleting silver streaks Kingfish prepared for Willie and succumbed to himself. They are silent for a minute with their thoughts and her tears. Do you want some water, Don? I want some water. He motions under the table to a box of small water bottles Colonel Shen brought for his friend. For once, Willie drinks from his bottle without fiddling with the bottle cap. Wanting Dawn to know more, Willie quietly narrates a short version of his life. First, he shares the earliest painful bullet points. His father's murder, call, disappearance. His mother's need for young teen Willie to leave. Then Wanda's teen gang attack and Willie's inadequate defense that left him broken in the dirt. Somehow in those days a huge corner was turned. Pausing to think, Willie says it must have been his uncle, his mother's brother, praying for him. Something began. Willie discovered the satisfying therapy of fixing mechanical things that became provision for the teenagers, Wanda and Willie. Then he met Dee, Evie, Pieface, and the Lord. The Odd family did things to help people, and just to spend more time together, it felt that right. After surviving their harrowing escape from China, Wanda died in the 9/21 earthquake. Married barely 1 year, Pieface rose from his grief, and Willie had a brother like Wanda was a sister. When Pieface was murdered, Willie lost his purpose, lost his mind, wouldn't shave, could only imagine vengeance he called justice. I can't lose any more time like that. Not another day. That's how I feel now. Willie feels relieved and tired. He tells his aching buttocks wound to leave him alone. Dawn says she should tell about herself. She explains she and her husband's families knew each other for many years. They got married when she became pregnant, after he raped me. Keeping her composure, she told Willie how he begged for forgiveness and promised to be a good father and husband, but he only pleaded so he wouldn't lose face with our families. He was never nearly all in with us. I tried less hard when his arguing became enraged that my nagging was bringing him down. She describes a life of feeling isolated, rejected, unwanted. I thought it was me, Willie, but now I know there are these kinds of men. Looking down, Dawn says he died in a car crash racing around, flipped his car off an embankment. But long before he died, she says, her husband left them for work and for drink. I heard men are either or. They stay or they leave. I wanted to take the blame. I thought I chose wrong or drove him away, but he was that way and hid it from everyone. They moved back with her own family after that, with no protests from her husband's family, who blamed her without ever saying. Smiling bravely, she says, 2 years is a long time with 2 sons, to assure Willie she was over it. Dawn explains she can afford to not work until her sons are in elementary school. She was a bookkeeper before marrying. I'm glad for the experience. I learned office work is not what I want to spend my life doing. She enjoys telling stories to her sons and creating things for them and with them. Maybe I will learn how to decorate cakes or invent some kind of new functional kitchen accessory. Her eyes flash. No matter what, we'll be okay with each other. Dawn adds, I'm not sorry I didn't get an abortion. What her girlfriends and her husband's family urged would be easier. I'm sorry for what you went through, Dawn. Willie is swimming in feelings. You seem over it. I can't imagine what it was all like. Nodding, she breathes deeply. Then she looks closely and earnestly at Willie, puts her hands over Willie's left hand at the side of the bed and squeezes. Willie, we love Sanbao so much. I love Sanbao so much. I want to tell you how grateful I am that you were such a big part of his rescue. I will always be grateful to you and think of you as our hero, Willie. Her eyes moisten, and she leans over in a steady motion and slowly puts her lips on Willie's cheek in a relaxed, unhurried, lingering kiss neither of them would ever forget. Willie can't help how his body reacts with a tiny jump and a small gasped sound. His eyes turn in their sockets, first downward at the sides and then upward nearer to Dawn. He can barely keep it together. Are you okay, Willie? Does it hurt? He shakes his head, never looking away, wanting to bring his right hand over to put on top of her hands, still on his left hand. He stops just before their 4 hands all join, only touching her top hand with his drawn right index finger, and then letting that right hand slide up over his pounding heart, his forearm over his aching rib wound. She moves one of her hands onto his right hand and steps closer to him. He's amazed he's hearing the song. Fighting reluctance, he can't help telling her, "Did you ever hear that old Roberta Flack song?" Ruth and Jimmy. Smiling after talking to Brenda, Ruth hangs up the phone. Brenda's husband, Theo, going by Teddy more lately, was doing well after their terrible experience in the first hospital. That nightmare of unbridled ambition and institutional greed was thankfully cut short. With help from Teddy's bosses, they got second opinions, and those were easier to hear. Thankfully, they were told to forget about money, guaranteed no medical bills would fall on them. His concussion was mild, and swelling was going away, and all but 3 of the bone fractures would heal on their own, including his broken back. Jimmy's sisters are on the sofa staring at a pile of mail on the coffee table in the living room when Jimmy and Ruth come over in answer to the sisters' shouts. On top of the bills and plastic-wrapped supermarket ads are 2 envelopes Ping Ping and An An have laid next to each other. Familiar handwriting spelled out Jimmy and Ruth's Chinese names along with their address. Cards from heaven. At the beginning of his shift on Friday, James sent the cards. With the typhoon, mail was uncharacteristically slow, and here they are. Before anyone moves to open them, pent-up grief releases in belly-shaking loud chasms of shared pain from each of them. They each try and cannot slow or stop it with clamped frowns or loud groans. It was there and had to gain release. Logical thinking and their faith in God tell them it will get better, but their hearts are still torn and agony grips and pours from them. First to regain composure, Jimmy reads his out loud. It was classic Dad. His half-page letter is a mixture of humor and pride, encouragement and a reminder of caution. Below Jimmy's last ever intimate, "I love you, my son," Dad, James had carefully written out a Bible verse, "Hold your faith above all other things." Jimmy's nose quivers and his head starts racking up and down in chest sobs, along with his sisters, who ache the same and have a drawer full of such cards to reread the rest of their lives. Ruth picks up her card and with one hand, the other grasps her handkerchief, which never escapes from her hand or pocket these days, except to be traded for another one. Always handkerchiefs, never tissue. She reads it silently, then hands it to Ping Ping, sitting nearest, who starts reading it out loud. My dearest Ruth, how I love you and think of you now, and about our life journey to this point. I wish we could be together during this great storm, sweetheart. No matter how Jimmy did Saturday night, you and I know he is crossing a threshold, breaking out in new uncharted waters where the Lord may lead him. If Jimmy dedicates to walking with the Lord, all will be well. Though it pains me to leave our 3 children edging more to their own destinies, we love them so much. I know you and I will have many more adventures and projects on this side of heaven, and infinitely more after that. I love everything about you and all our memories together, alone and as family. Honey, you are such a wonderful mother. Your handiwork is evident in each child. Let's congratulate each other on this graduation of sorts. See you soon. Hugs and kisses. Me. Ping Ping stops. Hits a brick wall at, "It pains me to leave our 3 children." And takes the card from her sister and finishes reading it out loud. Then they welcome more waves of cleansing grief, washing over them again and again.
And that's a wrap for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What stood out to you? If you're enjoying the journey, please share with a friend. It means the world to me. Want to hold the whole Danshui President Plunge adventure in your hand? It's waiting for you on Amazon. And if you do, please leave a quick review. Until next time, take care. I'll be right here ready for the next chapter. See you then.